Who's the best one-off and who's the best fodder? We're going to talk about who you should vote for in this A Hero Rises. And let's look at the bracket quick. Now, for each of these units, I'm going to go over scoring in their individual modes as a +0, as fodder, and as a merge project. Remember, we do have to go through the voting gauntlet, so the matchups are decided for us. But we can talk about what would be ideal, and we'll talk about the individual stats on summoning and also color sharing, that dirty word. But let me know in the comments who you are gonna vote for. The Queen of Gale Force. This unit is nuts on Aetherraid's offense. She has lots of actions, extra movement, piercing. She hits like a truck, but she also has really decent fodder. Ironically, this is the fodder you would like to give a near save that is defending against her, which is great, right? So we have Armored Blaze, Attack Defense Prime 4, and Defense Res Ploy. All of these have turned out to be very good skills. Let's talk about how she ranks though. Now, 768 in Arena is actually very good. It's the second highest score you can get. I'm giving her a 5 here, and in Summoner Duels, she is less prevalent, but a 3 is still usable. She's just not at the absolute forefront. In Aetherraid's offense, is there any doubt that she's a 5? She has defined what defenses need to be right now. On defense, she's less good because most of what she does is focused on offense. For fodder, it is good. A lot of what she has is a bit niche though. It's not usable for every single unit, which is why I have her at a 3. But this is the most valuable +0 in the game right now. And that's why out of a scale from 1 to 5, I give her a 6. As a +10, I think she is less good, but a 3 is still very solid. So that gives us a total of 27, with her usable in most modes while not all. Next up though, we're going to talk about a legendary who is good in almost every mode she touches. Legendary Camilla has brought burn damage and piercing screaming into the meta. Where these were rare things before, now they are just everywhere. This is a supportive nuke, and right now I would argue that this is the most valuable archetype in the game. I will say her fodder with Remote Sparrow and Deadly Miasma is good, not great, but with the Soaring Guidance Attuned skill, that means that Deadly Miasma is better than it once was. Now this unit scores 764 in Arena, which is good, but the fact that she does so many things as a flyer, and Arena maps are made for flyers. I have to rank this unit as a 6 in Arena. I think she'll be good for a long time. Summoner Duels is a Cav meta right now, but somehow Camilla has still carved herself out of space and given herself a 5 here. She is an amazing unit to use there because of her supportive capabilities and the fact that she's a flyer. Now, AR offense, I give her a 3 just because those spots are so coveted right now. She doesn't quite fit in a player phase team because she can't get Gale Force. And on offense, you have to have so many different supports that it's hard to get her in with just one supportive skill. On defense, however, she really provides the team a lot of oomph and a lot of extra movement, and she is absolutely amazing. For fodder, we talked about it, and she's about a 3. As a +0 though, I think she is amazing, and definitely 5 there. We've talked about merge projects right now being less amazing, and that's why I have her at a 4. There are just other units that provide more to your barracks, and we'll get to those. Alear is an Omni tank factory, having literally everything you could want for the latest Omni tank. She also gives out ally support piercing and has dual phase brave, which those units stay good for a very long time. So we have attack speed finish, Null Sea Disrupt 4, attack speed pledge. All of that's great. Let's get into the rankings though, and obviously in Arena she's a 5 at 766 because she has the distant counter dragon skill that really boosts her up. For Summoner Duels, Omni tanks right now and raid bosses in general have taken a huge hit with burn damage, so I've got her at a 2 there. Aetherraid's offense, I think she is very good, but because Omni tanks have taken such a hit, I only have her at a 4. She is not built for Aetherraid's defense though. That is not a mode you really want her on at all. We talked about the fodder. She's a clear 5, giving out exactly what the latest Omni tanks generally want. As a +0, I've got her as a 4. I think she is excellent in that regard. As a +10, I've got her as a 3. And because she is an enemy phase unit, those units tend to fade more. That gives us a total of 24, and that's amazing for this just beast of an Omni tank. Next up, we have Gullveig, and where Alear was the Omni tank factory, this is the nuke factory. Flared Sparrow, Occultist Strike, and Defense Res Smoke 3 are all excellent skills. Defense Res Smoke 3 is lower than the other two, but the other two are very, very good and can be handed out easily. She really fits the Cav line meta right now, and that gives her a very high value. Also, extra actions are good. Now, this is a very focused unit. In Arena, because she scores so low, she's just almost unusable there, which is disappointing because she has a lot of things that you would like to have in Arena, namely an extra action. In some of her duels, she just doesn't hit quite as hard as the other units, and while I do like her extra action, it doesn't bring her up enough. On Aetherid's offense, I thought about ranking her higher here because you can use her in Chaos Season, but I just couldn't quite bring myself to bring her above a 1. Defense, though, I've clearly got her as a 5 because she's a defensive mythic and a usable one at that. It gives her a high ranking there. Fodder is clearly a 5. I think as a one-off, this unit is a solid 3, but as a +10, this is not what I do with this unit. I would take this unit as 1, maybe 2 copies, fodder 1, keep the other. Winter Dimitri is the Vantage King, and even after losing a little bit of value because of the sweep effect with Leon, still holds a very high place. This unit is adaptable in both Omni Tank and Hit and Run modes, and has a lot of rare fodder in No Quarter and Attack Speed Prime 4. In Arena, he still scores a bit too low for my liking for what he brings, but very usable there, as Vantage can be a ton of fun. In Summoner Duels, I've got him as a 3 as well, and he can be slotted into the current meta because of how much Cavs are out there, but the Vantage effect is just not as good in Summoner Duels, because even in Summoner Duels S, they've given us enough ways to counter it in sweep effects and the Hardy Bearing Seal. AR offense, I've clearly got this unit as a 5. I will say with the release of Leon, like we talked about, he has dropped a little bit in value, but I have him as one of the best Omni tanks currently. On AR defense, I've got him as a 2. His gimmick just doesn't work as well there. He still hits very, very hard, but it is hard to slot those kind of units into a defense. Fodder is clearly a 5 with all the things we talked about. As a +0, I've given him a 4, and definitely a unit that you would like in your barracks. As a +10, I don't like him as much as merely a 2 because I think you get most of his value out of the 1 copy. Sanaki has returned the ninja banner to greatness, and she has a duo refresh, which is always amazing for every mode except Summoner Duels. She's a dual phase brave weapon, which again are just perennially good. And then this is also a benchmark nuke. When you are doing your simulations, you want to make sure this unit is the one that your Omni tank survives. Now, notable fodder, we have Flared Mirror, Sabotage AR, and Defense Res Ploy. These skills all have a dual nature in both an offensive and a supportive capability. In both Flared Mirror with the Flame Terrain, Sabotage AR, which helps out the team with the Sabotage effect, and of course Defense Res Ploy, which gets rid of a lot of different effects on the opponent. For Arena, as a duo unit, this unit scores a 766. Having a ranged cav is very nice, especially one that refreshes, and that's a clear 5. For Summoner Duels, I've got her as a 4, and that's mainly because she's a cav and movement can be limited there, but mainly because of Leon. And Leon has showed us what an elite nuke can be right now, which is a little scary. On air offense, she's definitely usable, but I like other units better. Still a 3 is respectable. On defense though, I've got her a 4, and she is almost on every AR defense right now, which is crazy. Fodder is a clear 5. As a +0, I think she is phenomenal. As a +10, I've got her as a 4, which is still very good, but again, people are starting to figure out her gimmick, and null penalties are just everywhere right now. Claude rocked the meta a mere 6 months ago, and he's still very good with his special acceleration, just immense amounts of damage reduction, and his hit and run capabilities. His fodder with lethality and attack speed prime is very good, and attack speed oath is good as well. The problem is scowl is everywhere. They're handing it out like candy, and it really stops a little bit what he can do. The other issue is piercing is also everywhere. In Arena, I've got him as a 3 because of the things we just mentioned. He's still very good, but 758 is a bit on the low side as well. In Summoner Duels, he's fallen off because of that scowl effect, which is used most prevalently in that mode. Now, AR Offense, as a hit and run unit, I've got him as a 3 and still a lot of fun as long as you don't see the Byleths. The problem is they're the most common unit out there in the meta right now. If they go away though, this unit comes back. On AR Defense, I've got him as a 2. He's not only dropped off as a nuke, but the thing you have to defend against most right now is player phase, especially in regards to Winter Edelgard, and he doesn't help you there. His fodder is excellent though, and at a 4, lethality and attack speed primer both very good. As a one-off, I like him a lot. I don't so much like him as a +10 with a 2. It gives him a total of 19 and puts him on the low end of these rankings. Last up, we have my favorite unit on the banner, and Peony is a tier 0 fodder factory. She is amazing, but she also provides excellent tank support and scores decently enough for a dancer. But look at that fodder. You get attack speed unity, rock slide dance 3, crossbow speed, and attack oath echo. All of these can be given away in one fell swoop because we now have Lara with rock slide dance 2. I give this unit a solid 5 in Arena. This is the second highest scoring dancer right next to Duo Peony. And I think at 758, you could definitely use this unit. In Summoner Duels, I took a bit of liberty here. What this is representing is the fact that in that mode, you generally want the latest unit and then some sort of specialized fodder. Rearmed and attuned units are the way you do that. It helps that mode so much, and I've given her a 5 there. In AR Offense, I've given her a 5, and just the combination of drives and healing and all of the other things she does, she is excellent there. On defense, this is probably not your unit at a 2, but for fodder, clearly a 6. This is one of the most amazing fodder units in the game right now. I think this unit is only a 3 as a +0. I like her there, but not as good as a +10 because of all the things she can do. Remember, the whole thing with rearmed and attuned units is that you get to use them twice. Once as fodder, once as an actual unit. It means that you then get 11 copies of her fodder and whatever you had on her, and you get to use this unit in all the different modes. That is a great combination and sets this unit at the highest score of 31. Okay, here we have the landscape and the value picks. This is looking at units that you want to be able to use in as many ways and in as many modes as you can. I feel Peony and Cam are the best in this regard. I think you get the most value, the most modes, the most fodder. They are amazing. A close second though is Sanaki, and again, this is a duo unit. It means you can use her in scoring modes very easily. Coming up next is Winter Edelgard, and a 27 is very good, and she's one of the best units in the game right now. Then we have Alear and Dimitri, both at 24, both very good units in their own right, but they both lean more towards omni tanking, which brings down their value just a little bit. At the tail end, we have Claude, who unfortunately got nerfed by the latest tanks that came out, and of course Gullveig, who is very good but really only in one mode. But let's talk about individual standouts. Now, this first row I'm looking at as if you only wanted one of these units, and Cam in Arena Duels is absolutely amazing for this group. In air offense, you just can't beat Winter Edelgard, hands down. On air defense, I really like Sanaki. Again, benchmark nuke, absolutely fantastic. In Summoner Duels, though, I would go with Camilla. Now, for fodder, is there any question about Peony? As a +0, we've talked about it, but Winter Edelgard is the best in the game. As a merge project, I'd still go with Peony because you can use her twice. All right, that brings us all the way back to summoning stats, and what this is doing graphically is showing you the difference between what these units cost in the A Hero Rises banner versus their original banner. And there's some clear standouts here, like if you are looking at saving orbs, Gullveig is just the way to go. I mean, the difference there is huge, and the greens are probably the worst to go for savings. Red and blue are in there in the middle, but I want to look at actual values here. And when you break this down, Gullveig saving 1100 orbs is absolutely crazy, but her use case is smaller than some of these other units. Same thing looking at Edelgard and Sanaki. These do have a range, and you get to save in the 780s there. Then you have the greens, which, have you noticed that it costs more to get Sanaki on her original banner than it would cost to get a green on a legendary banner? Let that sink in for a little bit because that's disturbing. But the big point here is, if you're looking at saving orbs, it's better to do the worst colors like Gullveig on colorless as opposed to the green units. It begs the question, why do I want an all-green banner? And I've been very outspoken about this, and this is the best way I can show this. And looking at the 4 greens column there, notice that that is 996 orbs to get a +10 on average, as opposed to the 150 lower of 850 if there's only 1 green on the banner. The difference is the average number of green focus heroes you're going to get while spending that is 43. It is almost a certainty that you get 2 +10s in that time. It is less likely, but still possible, that you get 3 +10s. That is an insane value, and looking at these units, they're all very good in their individual modes and can help you a ton in your barracks. This is something that really helps out new players and up-and-coming players as well. The problem is, when we see a 5-star and it's not the one we wanted, it feels bad. There are 2 things I want you to pay attention to if we have a lot of color sharing on this banner. The first is, always look at the average orbs to get to what you have instead of looking at just how many 5-stars weren't the one you wanted. It's really important. The second is, just because you did bad on this banner doesn't mean it was because of color sharing. Sometimes you're the 99th percentile. I've been there. Go look at my Femortis video. But even if we only have 2 or 3 greens sharing, it's still a lot of value. I think the most likely scenario we're gonna have is Sanaki and the other 3 greens. That still makes it likely that if you are +10ing a unit on this banner, you come away with 2 +10s as opposed to 1. That's amazing. This is my hope for what's gonna happen, but understand voting gauntlets are voting gauntlets and you never know. I do think Peony comes over Edelgard. I don't think that has anything to do with Edelgard as a unit. I just think the community really likes to see Edelgard lose in voting gauntlets. What normally happens is the amount of support that the opponent gets carries them through into the win. I also think Peony would be an amazing unit for everyone in the community as well as new players to have or have an extra copy of. She gets better the more copies you get. I think Dimitri comes over Gullveig, but there is a bit of Gullveig votes that may put her over the top. I think Cam comes over Claude because Claude has fallen off a bit. And the one that's going to be close as far as the Green Dream, in my opinion, is going to be Sanaki versus Alear. And you can see even in the score, I have Sanaki as a better unit. The reason I want Alear in there is because of the extra fodder you would pick up while summoning for green. Just know that there are no duds in this. I am very outspoken about the Green Dream, but whatever this banner is, it's gonna be great. Make sure you enjoy it. If you want to know more about how summoning works, I have a whole video on it. I will link it here. Members, you are amazing. Thank you for all you do, and we'll have another live very soon, I promise.